evening, all the beautiful ladies and gentlemen out there. It is so great to be again online tonight with all of you out there. Please do share with us where you are dialing in from, whether you are dialing in via our LinkedIn page or our Facebook page. Please share with us where you are dialing in from all over the world. But a warm welcome tonight. We have an amazing guest tonight, someone that we've really been journeying with, if I can put it that way. Kathy,
Have we lost T? Sorry, we might
Yeah.
have technical difficulties. Just to carry on from where she was saying, because I also here in South Africa, our load shedding is quite bad and it gets to our network. So just to carry on with what she was saying, we do have Kathy Bero in not let me not say in studio, but with us this evening. She is all the way from America. She is somebody that is the closest thing to my heart, because she has been with holding my hand from last year, Kathy. I think it was last year, June up until now, and she's made such a huge impact in my life. She is my health mentor. I do call her my health mentor, Kathy Barrow. I think she will really introduce herself in terms of what she has done and what she does. But for me, what she is to me, she's my bosom buddy in health, in nutrition, in holistic healing. She has taught me a lot of about holistic healing. She has helped me in my healing as well. So Kathy, it is an honor. It is a pleasure. It is, look, I've got no words to say, but thank you so much for joining us this evening, because I know where you are. It's not necessarily in the evening. So taking the time to just be with us this evening and sharing your knowledge. I know it works because it has worked in my life. I can I can really attest to that. So people watching, it's gonna be an amazing evening. Sorry, Talita, we got cut off there.
no, apologies. It's my terrible network I have at the moment. So I'm hoping it's still coming through and that
Aw.
you can all hear me clearly. But yeah, just
No,
from my side, a warm welcome to Kathy. It's so great to have you back. We had such a lovely conversation online last year around the same time, and it's
Mhm.
really amazing to have you back. And just a warm welcome here from the warm South Africa currently. So
yeah.
it's great to have you online, and really, I'm excited to hear again once more about your holistic journey and your inspiration, your empowerment of knowledge. It's really always just great to hear from you. So maybe just to start off with, Kathy, apologies. My tongue is even twisting tonight with the network, so I do apologize. But Kathy, maybe, just as a start, maybe just a little bit from your own journey as an introduction, and just to maybe bring our audience into context as well, if you don't mind.
I don't mind. Yeah, so first of all, I am honored to be here and be involved in what you're doing, because it is really important that not just women are talking to each other around the world, but that we support each other and, do what we can in that venue and make sure that we all know we're good enough. We're knocking it out of the park, even if we don't feel like it.
Mm, mm,
So in 2005, I was diagnosed with stage 4 inflammatory breast cancer, and then a year later, I was diagnosed with a high grade mucoepidermoid carcinoma. It took me a while to learn to say that. Um, with my first diagnosis, my kids were 2 and 7, so they were really little. And so I do want to talk a little bit about parenting through cancer and what that means for moms, because that is not easy. But basically, it was, jumping into, because it's inflammatory breast cancer, there's not a lot of time to think. they jump you right into chemotherapy and radiation and surgery. And, I've come to learn that all of that was really important in slowing the cancer down to give me time to wake up my inner healer, to reconnect, because I
mm,
really wasn't connected. And so that
mm,
gave me a lot of time, lots of downtime. Let me tell you, I was on the couch a lot. But, using that time not just to be in misery, but to meditate and to visualize and to be productive. I'm an integrative health coach, not just cancer. And one of the kind of pushbacks I get from clients sometimes is I'm just so busy. I'm so busy at work. I can't meditate. I'm so busy with my kids. And my answer is even busy people can be busy meditating. You can be
mm,
busy breathing. You're doing it anyway. And if you're one of those people like I used to be, where everything is in your calendar and you scheduled your time, write it in. I'm going to
mm,
meditate for 3 minutes. I'm going to focus on my breathing for 2 minutes. Like everyone has time for that, whether you're sitting at a stoplight or whatever it is you're doing. So I learned that during that time. And the average life expectancy for the diagnosis I had was 21 months. And obviously now I'm at 18 years. And Harvard University in Boston, Massachusetts in America, which is our big research hospital, they're doing a study on, it's called NEAR, 100 people like me who should have died and didn't. Basically, they don't call it that. They call us enigmatic responders. But
mm.
in my simplistic terms, it just means we should have died and didn't, and why didn't we die? And
Yes.
we all did basically the same things. So as you said, this works. I know it works from my own personal experience, but I also know it works from all the, people I've helped in the last, well, since like 2008 or so. So last decade. And it's not hard, I will tell you all. It's simple, attainable, and it's sustainable.
Mm,
And if it's anything but that, forget about it and, regroup. So
mm,
that's where I'm at.
mm, mm,
Thanks, Kathy. That's amazing. And you mentioned about the parenting part in the beginning, which I think is really a key aspect that one needs
Mhm.
to look at and keep in mind as well. I don't
Yeah.
know if you might maybe want to elaborate a little bit around parenting, with your kids at that age, especially with the cancer journey.
Yeah. Well, I think it's hard for women when we're diagnosed because I don't know, maybe it's just in the breast cancer world, but we're getting all this documentation that, oh, if you exercise, this is going to help you do better. And if you, do all these things, and then you're sitting there with children, probably, maybe at home and not in school. Maybe you
mm,
have a partner, maybe you don't. You are exhausted and you are not making time to exercise for the most part, depending on your treatment. Like it's just not happening. And
mm,
really, I've come to learn that the exercise, it's not exercise. And the research is coming out now and talking about this. It's movement. It's all about movement. And that's even hard. That was really hard for me. So I was lucky. My partner was able to take the kids to school during the day so that I could rest and kind of gear up for dinner. Um, but my youngest, my 2-year-old, she wasn't in school every day. She was home with me sometimes. And I really had to learn that it's not about being the perfect mom, which can be a hard thing, when you're looking around at parents in school and moms in school, and they all seem like so on top of it. And I'm here to tell you, they are way stressed and they're just
mm,
masking ease. It is very few people that are natural at that. And so it's not about being perfect. It's just,
mm,
you
mm,
have to be a good enough mom. I'm
Yeah.
okay being a good enough mom right now, because if I try too hard and take away from my healing, I won't be here to be a good enough or better or great mom later. So, and being honest with your kids, even at 2 years old, and I know, we've talked about some surprises that you've experienced, but 2 year olds, they're with you if you just, include them. It's hard to do because you're exhausted and they need a lot, but also if you're just honest. And one of the things I used to say to my kids was, I just need quiet in my head. I'm going to
Mm,
go to my room and no one's going to come to my door. You're not going to yell
mm,
outside my door. You're not going to tap the wall. You're not going to do any of those things, because I
mm,
need quiet in my head. And if I get that quiet in my head, I will be able to help you sooner. And,
mm,
so they understood that. Um,
mm,
so that was a big part of it. My 2 year old came with me to chemo when she wasn't in her daycare, which was just like 3 hours a day for a couple days a week. And at first, the oncology clinic was like, and I would say, well, you should have a daycare. You should have
mm,
daycare for moms like me. So because you
sure.
don't have daycare, she's here with me. And so she would
Mm,
sit on my bed with me, and they'd bring her graham crackers, and it's just like, and in doing that, she really, I think, had a better understanding of what I was going through. And then, showing up where you can. And if you
mm,
can't show up, that's okay. And then just embrace the change, because there's change. Don't pretend like everything's normal.
that's
And that
true.
it's going to be normal at some point, because it may not, and hopefully it's not. Hopefully we are moving through our days better than
Mm,
normal. So new
mm,
normal doesn't have to mean, feeling sick or whatever. I just was out hiking in the Teton Mountains in America, and who would have thought I'd be doing that? So our new normal doesn't have to be like our old normal, and it doesn't have to be a sick normal.
I like that.
You
I
know.
like that. And I like the fact that you were saying in terms of like bringing your child with you because they literally do everything with you. And like
Mm.
as also when you're saying about the surprises that we had with Anashe, like she got the breathing so quickly. She
So quick.
understood what needs to happen in terms, and also how it just really calmed her down for me to also just get a break as well because she can be very energetic, and it's true, just we need that 5 minutes, that 10 minutes just to calm down a bit. So yeah, no, some of the things that you are saying, it is very relatable, Kathy.
I'm glad. So somebody asked what the difference is between inflammatory breast cancer and regular breast cancer, and of course there are, I don't know, more than 30 different kinds of breast cancer. Um,
Mm,
Inflammatory breast cancer is one of the most rare forms of breast cancer, and it tends to it shows up on your skin. Um, they often describe it as peau d'orange. I don't even know how to say it in French, but like you look like an orange peel on your skin.
mm,
But don't let it get that far. So if you see a little red spot, don't let them tell you it's you know, uh, what do they call it? Mastitis or a cyst. Make them check it. Just make them check it. Um, and that may seem over the top,
mm,
but if it's nothing, awesome. If it's inflammatory breast cancer, then you know you're happy that you made them go that extra mile. But so what inflammatory does is it tends to start as a ductal carcinoma. Um, and it moves out of the milk duct up into the skin, and then it from there it will spread through the dermal lymphatics, which
mm,
now it's the skin is the largest organ in your body, and oftentimes if you're reading about where does breast cancer spread to, they forget about the skin. They talk about the brain and the bones and the liver, but they don't talk about the skin. Some do, but so inflammatory breast cancer is one of those cancers where I live, which is just outside of Chicago. They had never done the kind of treatment that I had prescribed to me from Memorial Sloan Kettering, which is a big research hospital in the United States. And my sister-in-law just happened to be working there at the time. So she got my protocol. That wasn't what they used here. They were doing like really horrible things, and women weren't living very long. So while that treatment has evolved, obviously, since 2005, and I got dose dense chemo. I had to have non-skin sparing radiation, which means they burn your skin off. Today, it's not that rough. It's they've learned they don't need to kill us to help us live, right? Less is truly more. So basically, that's the difference. It can be triple negative inflammatory. It can be any variation, all positive. But the inflammatory part of it is moving to the skin.
Oh, that's very interesting, Kathy. And I think there's a lot of us that don't know all about the different variations of breast cancer, or even the different types of cancer, overall. So it's great to just get some information and to know that those things we need to look out for as well, even if it is a little red spot, that we need to be attend to it, and really make an effort to get someone to look at it for us, to make sure it's not cancerous, or if it is, to get the right treatment from there. So thank you very much for that. Kathy, I mean, you've in your journey and as part of your journey, you've done so much holistically, and as part of the holistic picture, and because we, as She Speaks SA, specifically this month, we really looking into the nutritional side of, when you are diagnosed with cancer, what are the nutritional things to look out for? What should we really focus on? Because I think there's such a lack of knowledge when it comes to the nutritional side, but also, as you mentioned earlier, the holistic picture of what should we be aware of. You mentioned exercise a little bit earlier. You mentioned meditation. But if we look at nutrition specifically, what kind of tips and tricks, can you provide people with that you've learned from your journey?
Sure. So look, the bottom line is your gut. And we don't just take care of our gut through food, but I'll talk about that. But our gut is responsible for running the majority of our body. It's full of bacteria and virus and fungi and all kinds of different organisms, hundreds of different species, and they each have a different role in our body. So keeping our microbiome balanced is key. Do we do that through supplements? No, we do not. We don't do that through probiotic supplements. So if you're taking probiotic supplements and you don't have a gastrointestinal reason for it, and taking antibiotics is not a reason for it, and the new research is showing this, because what happens when you take those probiotics is it overpopulates your microbiome with only a few, handful of species. And we all know that our communities do better when they are diverse, right? So does our microbiome. So we have to keep it diverse. And if we're overpopulating it with one particular strain, or even 10 particular strains, it's still pushing out the diversity. So how do we do that? One of the ways is food. So to maintain a diverse microbiome, you have to eat high fiber foods. And, for the longest time, I mean, I'm about to be 60, so I know I'm the oldest here.
You definitely don't look 60.
But So back when I was a kid, everything was about eating high fiber, adding fiber to foods so everyone was getting enough fiber, but they didn't tell you why. And getting high fiber food in your bread, how about we do real fiber in our bread? So the reason is our microbiome eats only fiber. End of story. So 90% of what we eat has to be fiber, fruits, vegetables, whole grains. Um, thanks. Is it Carabo? Thank you. It has to be about the fiber, and just by chance that happens to be, not really by chance, but that happens to be all the healthy foods, right? So when you're online and you're watching somebody, some doctor, some expert, and I never call myself an expert because I'm an expert in me, but there is no one on the planet that is an expert in anything. You might be well versed in it, but you're not an expert. So when people are online and they're telling you, oh, you have to juice celery, or you have to don't eat these don't eat dairy, don't eat these grains, whatever it is, any elimination diet is a bad idea unless you are celiac, for example, right? Or you have a lactose intolerance. That's different. But that is a tiny, tiny, tiny percentage of people versus all the people who say they are, So I mean, I'm just about being real. So and I have celiac a niece and two nephews, and we have a lot of in our family lactose intolerance, gluten intolerance. We have it, but there's ways to work with it. So whole grains such as the quinoa and my brain is going blank. There's if anyone wants all the whole grains, I'll have it on a food sheet here. But let's see. So we really do need to focus on the fiber, and that will keep our gut healthy. So the gut doesn't just run the physical, body; it also runs mental health. And so they've found that when your gut is unhealthy, your mental health is strained. They're finding depression can be cured by healing the microbiome. Autism spectrum traits are lessened; they're decreased when your gut is healthy. And so food is the one way to do that. The other way to do that is to keep your stress levels down. Keep your stress levels down. So this is your sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight. Your parasympathetic is in your gut. So most of us walk through our days up here, reacting. We have to stay in this parasympathetic state. And keeping our microbiome is one way. Another way, instantly switch off this, is to take in 3 deep belly breaths, as Anasha learned. Quick 3 deep belly breaths. It's the craziest thing, but it massages the diaphragm, which activates your parasympathetic. And the two can't operate really at the same time. So you can't live in a sympathetic and parasympathetic state. So just accessing that really, really simple thing is so important. So that's another way to keep your microbiome healthy, and it's super important. Don't hold on to emotions. This is, again, I'm old enough to remember this. There used to be, like in the 60s and 70s, it was like all the crazy people talked about how we carry the wounds of our generations, the generations of our family, our ancestors.
Yeah.
We carry those wounds today. And that was like, no, we don't. Yes, we do. So it's called the study of epigenetics. If anyone wants to look it up, it's EPI genetics. And what they're finding is that when our ancestors or parents or grandparents suffer trauma, that
Mm.
changes their DNA. It damages DNA, and that DNA can be passed along generation after generation. So we can suffer the same
Mm.
trauma without really realizing it, but that doesn't mean we have to hold on to it.
Mm.
Mm,
Mm.
So we
mm,
can work that out. We have to release suppressed
Mm.
emotions, and we do that through breathing, through meditating. Personally, I think Reiki is huge in this. Reiki is energy healing, and
Mm.
it's kind of a no nonsense. So it fits with everybody. And then increasing positive emotions. And here's a super
Mm.
easy one. Um, one expression of gratitude, just one,
yeah, yeah.
one decreases cortisol levels, and I'm sure the other hormone levels, stress hormone levels, by 42%.
Sure.
Mm,
That's a
One
lot.
expression. I
Yeah.
am so grateful that the sun is out today. That's it. Like,
Yeah.
so why are we not walking around doing that?
Yeah.
Because stress is a major player when it comes to cancer.
Mm. Sure.
And then when it comes to moving, movement, exercise, I had a
Mm.
client. She actually was my physics teacher in high school.
Oh,
oh
Um,
wow.
wow.
yeah, she she had metastatic breast cancer. It was in her bones, and
Mm,
this woman was so crazy healthy, so healthy, and riding her bike every day and going to yoga, and why is this cancer spreading? Well,
Mm.
mm,
there was a good reason for it that I can't share. But one of the things that she was steadfast on was that the more I exercise, the better it is. I'm
Sure.
creating this environment that's inhospitable to cancer. And kept trying to say, but if your body, because my husband was an ultramarathon runner, my girls are long distance runners, your body has to recover from that
Mm.
mm,
exercise. So my husband
mm,
running a 100-mile race, it would be a week or two before he was back to normal. So
Mm.
if your body is carrying cancer and it's, not a good cancer, and it's like it's too far along, and you're just taxing your body has
Mm.
no energy to heal.
yeah,
And
Yeah.
yeah.
so and for all of your viewers, I want you to know you can call up scientists. So she gave me this book, and it was a scientist guy who is working with dragon boats. And he was all about exercise and breast cancer. And it was a way to see if we really cause lymphedema by exercising and moving our arms. Um, in the book, it said, exercise, exercise. So I called him up.
Mm.
You can call up researchers. I, I called him up and I said, okay, let's talk about this for a minute because I disagree. And he said, well, why do you disagree? So I
Mm.
explained to him my theory, and he went, huh, I didn't think about that.
Wow.
Because our researchers get so buttonholed, and
Mm.
we have to broaden our thinking. We have to be holistic thinkers in the way
Mm.
that we
Mm,
approach our personal challenge, right?
Yeah.
No
yeah,
Yeah.
no
yeah.
one else cares about us as much as we do. so
Absolutely.
so definitely movement is important. Don't sit around, and make
Mm.
yourself sicker, but move around the house. If you can't get outside because you just had a particularly difficult treatment, that's
Mm.
okay.
Mm.
Stand up, move around a little bit, then lay back down. It's not
Mm.
forever. So,
Mm. No,
um,
absolutely.
yeah. And then someone asked, oh, I'm so
Mm.
bad at pronouncing names. Guatemala?
Huh?
Did I say that right? No? I
I,
don't know if I said that right.
Not.
I don't know.
Boitumelo,
I
I
apologize.
think. No, no
What is it?
problem. Go ahead.
So in answer to your question in juicing, and this is a huge one, I get it all the time. It's all over the internet. Juice, juice, juice. No, no, no. And I've gone toe to toe with some of the people that are out there on the internet, some of the biggest names promoting juicing. and it's a moneymaker. End of story. It's a moneymaker. They sell a juicer. Here's the problem, and you're going to know the answer. So this is like a quiz. If you're juicing, or just drinking juice, what's not in there? The fiber. You pull all that fiber out. So yay, you concentrated all the nutrients, the vitamins and stuff. That's awesome. You drink it, and then your body's like, so what? What do I do with that? I don't have any fiber to properly absorb it. So
Wow.
smoothies all the way.
Okay.
Mm.
Ree, are there some on your side? Are there some favorite smoothies that you can recommend to people, maybe that you've tried and tested? Because I know you're quite big on your smoothies, and that you have made some. I mean, I've seen it, and they always look amazing. So, are there any like recipes that you could maybe recommend to people out there?
No, absolutely. For myself, I really like the pineapple, the cucumber, a bit of ginger, and a little bit of apple. That's also really nice. Some celery because it is quite refreshing. Because also cucumber with it dehydrates. It's a good to dehydrate you. Also in terms of the greens, I like spinach, cucumber, also a bit of kale, if a bit, and also some gingers as well. I try and put a lot of ginger in all of my smoothies. Um,
Okay.
Also another one that I do like as well is apple, strawberries, berries, and what's my fourth fruit? But it's your berries, but with a bit of apple in it. So those are the ones that I really really like, and
Oh,
I
they just
really
sound
make sure that
amazing.
I have a smoothie every single day, so my body really gets used to like having it, and it's funny how filling it actually is as well. So it's also from my side like it's a good a meal replacement for like a snack. So instead of having a snack, you have a smoothie because it fills me up, you know. And also Anasha
Yeah.
as well loves them. She sees the pink and she's like, "Mommy, let's go! Like I want some."
Yeah.
No,
Well,
that's
and
amazing.
smoothies are a great vehicle for protein too. So
Mm,
throwing in hemp seeds or nuts or different seeds.
mm,
Don't
Mm,
forget about your protein sources, because when we're recovering from treatment and even as we age, we need more protein to maintain our muscle mass. So
mm,
yeah.
definitely, yeah.
No, absolutely. There's a people that asking about the impact of meat,
Yeah.
Kathy. What would you say, looking at the nutritional side, and we're talking about the fibers, like, can people eat meat? What meat can you recommend? How should they eat the meat? I think there's so many questions around that alone that people wonder
Yeah.
about. Mm,
Okay. So I think this is America's fault. After World War II, our weapons factories became feedlots for livestock and sugar production. The rest of the world wasn't
mm.
growing livestock that way. Um,
Sure.
it's really horrible, and you can actually see the correlation between cancer rates and disease rates and increased livestock production. So why
Sure.
is that a bad thing to eat livestock, whatever kind it is,
Mm,
off of a feedlot? It's because they don't feed them what they're made to eat. They feed them
mm,
grains and things that quickly fatten them up, which makes them very high in omega fatty acid 6, which is an inflammatory fatty acid, which, of
mm,
mm.
course, we don't want inflammation in our bodies when we're trying to prevent
Yeah.
or recover from cancer. So,
Yeah.
grass fed is really the best way to eat
Mm,
meat. And local farmers are the ones you're going to get that from. I mean, we now
mm,
have in America, we have a growing market for grass fed. So we have bigger ranches providing grass fed because people are really moving away or trying to move away from eating bad meat. It's kind of a big conversation over here.
Mm.
But why do you want to eat grass fed? Well, that is the way that they were designed to eat, picking at the grasses and getting bugs in their mouth
Mm.
and all the different nutrients that they get makes
Mm.
them really high in omega fatty acid 3, which is
Okay.
anti-inflammatory. And so
Sure.
the same is true with fish. Again, there's so many ways to take our money and make us sick out there. Just insane.
Mm. Mm.
If you go on Google Maps and you look up Denmark, for example, which is one of the places where a lot of fish come from, and you kind of scan along the shore, you're going to see circles in the water. Those
Sure.
circles are fish farms. So
Mm.
what they're doing is they're caging the fish. They're wild caught, but they're being fed grains. That's not what
Mm.
fish are
Sure.
supposed to eat. So the same thing
Sure.
happens. So
Yeah.
you want sustainably caught in clean waters, and so
Mm.
that's the long and short of it when it comes to eating animal protein.
Mm. Mm. And if you do eat grass fed, how often do you recommend people can eat it? Because I know there are people out there, they just absolutely love the meat and they'll eat it on a daily basis. For other people, it's fine to eat it once a week. Is
Yeah.
there kind of a guideline as to how often you can eat grass fed meat?
No, and here's the thing, just for reference to your viewers, I was vegan for 4 years.
Okay.
Then I moved to vegetarianism. Now I'm an omnivore, mostly eating chicken and fish, mostly
Okay.
fish.
Mm.
um, Veganism is not a healthy way to go for most people. Having said that, there are people who their genetic makeup allows them to thrive on a vegan diet,
Mm.
but that's very
Mm.
few people.
Yeah.
Vegetarianism, they've just come out with stories on latest research showing that we actually carry genes that make us more likely to thrive on a specific diet. So
Wow.
vegetarianism is one of them.
Mm.
Um, I've had male clients who have gone to naturopaths, and the naturopaths get them on this, vegan diet, and I'm like, no, because as I'm looking at you, you are losing weight and losing weight, and that is the wrong
Mm.
thing.
Sure.
Mm.
You require protein. So
Yeah.
any one size fits all recommendation,
Mm.
just like elimination diets, no,
Mm. Mm.
you have to find your own way to what
Mm.
allows you to thrive. So for
Mm.
Yeah.
example, my oldest daughter, since she was itty bitty, just craved meat. Craved meat.
Okay.
Mm.
She tried to be a vegetarian, it did not stick.
Mm.
Um, my youngest daughter, totally successful vegetarian, loves it, thrives, long distance runner.
Mm.
So,
That's
why
true.
is that? So we really just have to know ourselves. And that's why
Yeah.
I really encourage people. It's one thing if you're looking on the internet for information and then you want to kind of weigh it and see how that feels for you or works for you. It's
Mm.
another thing if you are listening to people on the internet as if you're reading the gospel. Like
Mm.
it will never ever work for you. And so
Mm.
when
Mm.
I have people come to me that reach out to me and they say, will you take me on as your client because I want to do exactly what you did? And then I'm like, no, I'm out.
Mm.
Because exactly what I did is not going to
Yeah.
work for you. As you
Yes,
know, Ree, right?
that's true. That's true. Because I also like when you're saying now about, vegetarian or not eating meat and stuff like that. Like I saw that if I went only fruits and veggies only, I lost so much weight. And remember in the beginning when I was saying to you, I'm so skinny. I don't want to, lose any more weight. So I'm not too sure about eating the way, I'm supposed to eat. But consistency makes you realize
Mm.
what's good for in the beginning, when you start, you still looking at what your body really needs, but you need to keep at it for you to understand your body really well and be consistent at it. So right now I know what my body needs because I've stayed the long haul and I'm not losing all that weight anymore,
Mm.
but I'm still eating my vegetables, I'm still eating my meats. And also I think in terms of awareness and knowing what is good for you is because in the beginning I didn't really also understand the whole grass-fed part of it, where I just said no meat at all. But then when we spoke about like grass-fed meats, I was like, oh, I can eat meat, because I love meat, So it really is true about who you listen, like who you get your guidance from, and also listening
Yeah.
to your body on what you can and cannot eat. And I think the biggest thing, the consistency actually stay like
Mm.
you're not going to see difference maybe in a month. You might not see it in 2 months
Mm.
because our bodies are all different. Like muscle grows differently on everybody, but sticking with it and seeing what it really is the important thing as well, I think.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
And and then one of the questions was impact of meat. And so let me just quickly address that. As I started what I was saying about meat with we messed it up in America, no surprise there. Um, but but
Mm.
the impact that eating meat it has on the planet is
Mm.
bad when it's conventionally grown
Mm.
in
Mm.
feedlots. Okay,
Mm.
so when it's raised on pasture, I mean this is where I buy ours. My husband eats lots of meat. So we know our farmers. We
Mm.
know how they grow and they are sustainable growers. One of them,
Mm,
just an hour or two from where we live, has 1,000 acres, forested, grass, water
Mm.
holes, natural water holes, and their cattle move around the whole place
Mm.
and eat. They do not have a negative impact on the environment because I've got a second point there. So hold on. Because their manure is being assimilated into plants, right? It's becoming
Mm.
plants. Um,
mm,
it's not the same. I mean, methane is an issue for sure, but it's not the biggest issue. I mean,
Mm.
if we're talking greenhouse gases, we have a lot
Yeah.
of other places to look. Um,
Mm.
mm,
and also, you don't have to eat that much meat because protein sources also include, nuts,
Mm.
beans, um,
mm,
all kinds of um,
mm,
grains and you know seeds. I mean, we have other sources. We don't
Yeah.
need to always eat meat to get our protein. I think meat's kind of a lazy protein source in some ways
Mm.
because it's
Mm.
easy. And
Mm.
so one of the recommendations I would have is something I did. I loved wheat berry,
mm,
still do, and I would make a bunch of wheat berry. It's a grain, and I would put some olive oil in it, and it would go in my refrigerator for the week. And then when I was making something, I would scoop out some wheat berry, put it in whatever it was I was making. Super easy.
Mm.
And I would have a really high value, high fiber, high protein, lots of other
Mm.
minerals and vitamins food source to add to my
Mm.
vegetables, right? So
mm,
Oh, yeah.
I didn't need chicken, I didn't need fish, which can take a little more effort to make. So,
Mm.
and you can have it
Mm.
hot or cold. So it's like experimenting, like you said, it's like finding,
mm,
Mm.
what fits. And so,
Yeah.
mm,
you know, I don't follow recipes. I give recipes to my clients, some of them, but it's really, they're my recipes. And they're really because people ask for them, but they're fluid, right? For a reason. We talked about this, Rhea. They're fluid for a reason, because what I like, you're not going to like, potentially.
Yeah.
So understanding that when you're making, some smoothie, that was one of the questions. Maybe you like different things in your smoothie. Maybe you like
Yeah.
peanut butter and, zucchini, or like, I don't know, but everybody likes something different. So just
Yeah.
experiment. Remember
Yeah.
being a child and experimenting with food. And,
No,
yeah,
absolutely.
I remember putting mustard and, I don't know, various things all mashed together over toast for my mom. Like,
Oh, wow.
experiment.
Yeah.
It was not good, but this will be. Remember that, like,
Yeah.
channel your inner child.
I love it. I love it. Kathy, something that comes to mind as well is sugar, right? Now, a lot
Yeah.
of people substitute honey for sugar. Is that recommendable? Is that, you do a lot of research, but is it really worth substituting sugar for honey, or is it, I don't know, or does it have the same effect? Is really what I'm wondering. Yeah.
Yeah. So honey, it's best to eat it raw, not processed, right? Because processed sugar, it's like, I don't know if any of your viewers remember the agave whole movement. Everybody was eating agave, but then we came to realize agave was processed just like sugar, sugar cane. So it was like, that's not better.
Yeah.
So getting raw honey, particularly if you get it in an area, within maybe 50 to 100 miles of where you live, that's really good, because that honey
Okay.
is going to help you with viruses and
Mm,
bacterial infections, because it's antiviral, antibacterial, antifungal. It has really strong benefits, and just a
okay.
little bit goes a really long way. Another
Mm,
one, like where we live, we have maple syrup, and we make our own because we have a lot of maple
okay.
trees.
Wow.
Maple syrup. But you can make sugar, sweetener like that from almost any tree that, because they have a sap that runs. It's just that maples have a higher sugar content, so you don't need as much. But
Wow.
getting pure maple syrup, and that's actually been found to be anti-angiogenic and anti-inflammatory as well. So,
Okay.
and then there's,
That's
sugars. Yeah, there's a lot of healthy sugars out there today. When I was going through this, there weren't. So I was
yeah.
getting local honey and maple syrup, and that was kind of the end of the story. Um,
Hmm.
May I
Ree.
also ask, I had it now. Hazel, is it hazelnut? That syrup, is
Yeah.
that good?
Oh, hazelnuts are nuts.
So
There's
that
there's
but the
probably
syrup though.
we don't get that, but it just depends on how it's
Okay,
processed. That's interesting,
okay,
because hazelnuts are really good. Um,
yes.
Basically, you're just wanting to know how is this processed? Is it so, like the black raspberries that, I know it's harder to get them in South Africa, but some of my clients in other parts of the world, they use black raspberries, and there are many products out there with black raspberries in them, but they're processed in a way that they're actually not that potent when it comes to cancer. And this one
Um,
Okay.
company, Berry Health in Washington State in the United States, their black raspberry products are in cancer hospitals in the United States. Not all of them, but in a
oh,
lot of them. And so understanding how it's processed is really important,
mm,
and asking, don't be afraid to ask those questions, right? And
mm.
by way of an example of how to get the information you want really, really fast without having to sort of tussle with someone is, one of my clients telling me that they got their fish wild caught from Denmark, which is where that earlier example comes from. And I said, that's not wild caught. Well, it says it's wild caught. And I said, okay, let me reach out to the company. So I called the company and I said, can I speak to the person? So, okay, you don't call the company and say, how do you feed your fish? Because immediately they're like, uh-oh. You say, can I speak to the person who feeds your fish? Sure. Yeah. Let me get him. So I get the guy who feeds
Oh,
the
wow.
fish. And then I don't say, anything that's threatening. I just say, so just curious, what do you feed your fish? And he was
Yeah,
like, oh, let me look at the label on the bag. So
sure.
learning how to ask questions so that it's not a tussle and you get
Yeah.
the answer you want. You're not threatening anyone. But so yeah, the processed foods, we just have to stay away from processed foods as much as possible. And
Absolutely.
sugar, on this point of sugar, it's a question I get a lot. People say, well, I can't eat fruit because it has sugar in it. And that is out there all over the internet. The experts are telling you you can't eat fruit.
Yeah.
That's not true. So fruit is fructose. That is not
Yeah.
sucrose. And fruit comes with fiber. So, and all the other nutrients. So please keep eating your fruit because it's so good for you and it's so cancer fighting.
Is there a limit to sorry, Ree, is there a limit to fruit though on a daily basis? Like the portion of fruit that you can have in a day?
Yeah, I mean, not necessarily. I do recommend kind of like more vegetables than fruit for sure, because you're going to get
Okay.
more benefit in some ways out of vegetables.
Mm.
But maybe I don't know, 2 or 3 fruits and 5 or 6 vegetables. I mean, honestly, it depends on where you're at. So if it depends on the person. So if you're like I was eating 12 to 15 servings a day of fruits and vegetables.
Okay.
And it's not hard to do
Mm.
because serving sizes are actually small.
Yeah.
But it was majority was the fruits and vegetables because fruits, for example, the color in both fruits and vegetables is key.
Okay.
So the high value colors are going to be the purples and the reds. That's a really powerful. They have really powerful anthocyanins in them, polyphenols that fight
Okay.
cancer.
Okay.
But so do the oranges and the yellows and the greens. And so making sure that you're eating a lot of colors, like the favorite American plate, when we have what's called a Friday night fish fry here, and it's fish battered and fried and French fries and maybe a potato pancake. Like there's no
Okay.
color on that plate.
Yeah.
There's no color. Make sure you have lots and lots and lots and lots of color in your diet every day. And if some days you're not going to be able to eat as much, uh, as you normally would, that's okay. Don't sweat it.
No, absolutely. Marjorie, thanks for that question. Very good question. Are supplements also processed and high risk?
So supplements most are highly processed and not, in my opinion, very safe. So so there's a handful of supplements that are okay. So, I mean, you got to find a quality brand, but taking vitamin D3 is really important,
Okay.
especially if you're not outside all the time.
Yeah.
So vitamin D3, you want to take upwards of 5,000 units, but if you're healthy, you can take 2 or 3. And that is a hormone that helps run our body. So we get it from the sun. That's the cheapest way to get it. The sun hits our skin and it creates vitamin D3. If anyone's interested, on my website, I have in the blog section, I have a big long article about vitamin D3. My articles are usually very long, so there's not very many of them, but it's the whole science of vitamin D3. Omega-3 fatty acids are really important, but you don't have to take it in a supplement if you're getting it in your food supply. Another one, if you're on treatment, is CoQ10. And CoQ10 really is chemopreventive of the heart. Like it supports the heart.
Okay.
Another one that I recommend if you're in treatment or on medication is milk thistle, which is really, it helps your liver process.
Okay.
But overall, supplements aren't necessary. You can get it through your food. And oftentimes, if you are wanting to take a supplement like glutathione, for example, that is a good one. But if you are wanting to take a supplement, be sure you're reading the ingredient label, because oftentimes, like if you go somewhere and they're like, okay, you need to take all these supplements, read the labels, you're going to find a lot of overlap in those supplements. You're just wasting your money. You can get those through food, and it's super easy to search. Go online, search foods high in whatever it is, whatever nutrient you want, and you're going to get a long list of foods. So that's not hard to
Yeah.
find.
Yeah.
But definitely
One
eat.
very Yes, yes, no, absolutely. And one, just maybe a last question, speaking about vitamin D, the person is saying as well that South Africa is a very sunny country. So can one take too much vitamin D? Is that also unhealthy if there's too much of it?
It takes a lot to take too much.
Sure.
So let me just say, so if you are in the sun, where I am, which is northern hemisphere, right? So
Yeah.
it'd be the same for you, but except you don't have winters like we do. So for us, if we're out in the sun, April to October, 30 minutes a day between the
Mm,
hours of 10 and 3, we don't really need to take a supplement.
mm. Makes
It's
sense.
enough to get us through the winter.
Yeah.
But vitamin D3 is really good at helping fight cancer. And research is showing that people who use vitamin D3 do have better outcomes. And
Mm.
most of the oncologists here would tell you they take vitamin D3, 5,000
Okay.
units typically.
Sure. Mm. No,
So
that's
you're
really
not going
good.
to get too much. So sorry to
Yes.
just wrap that question. You're not going to get too much if you're out in the sun and taking up to
Okay.
5,000. Don't take more than
Okay.
that.
Cool. No, that sounds great. I think it is very important to mention it well, that people must also be aware of if they are on any medication, and they want to take any supplements, that they're also, kind of checking in whether it's not clashing with the medication that they do take. So
Yeah.
maybe just to highlight that as well, for people to be
It,
aware of that.
yeah. And most
Mm,
of them are. I will tell you, we have a research hospital just down the street from me, a very good one.
mm, mm,
Their pharmacist will not speak to any of my clients about alternative
mm,
ways of treating things, or even if the food they're taking clashes with the medication, because they don't know.
mm,
And it doesn't. The only one really to think about is grapefruit juice if you're on heart meds.
yeah.
But it's hard to get these people to talk, to actually
Mm,
do that research for you. So,
mm, mm,
and mulberries are good too because they're purple.
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it's in season here in South Africa, so it's easy for us to get a whole lot of mulberries in. But one thing that I want to find out from you, Kathy, and I know you're a huge advocate for holistic healing. What advice would you give somebody that is looking into holistic healing, and what actually, and I know we don't have a lot of time, but what actually is holistic healing in your opinion?
Sure. So for me, holistic healing is really about taking an integrative approach to your body. So think including your mind, your body, and your spirit in reconnecting with our soul. And I know that sounds religious, and that's not it's not what it's about. Um, it's really about like our soul came into this body, and then
Mm.
we stopped listening to it. Right? So we need to the soul is always perfect. Don't worry about healing your soul. But it's the
Mm.
mind, the body, and the spirit that needs to
Mm.
pull it together and and move through our days. So
Yeah.
holistic healing is about, taking care of our mind and our body and our spirit in ways that fit into our lifestyle that don't add
Mm.
stress. Because if it adds stress, forget about it.
Mm.
Find a different way.
Yeah.
So nothing you're doing should be stressful, whether it's financial. I know people spend so much money on holistic products. No, and it
Mm.
causes so much stress. It's
Mm.
no, it's not that hard. And I want to remind everybody in 2005, when I was diagnosed the first time, there really wasn't an internet. I know that's crazy to think about. There really
No.
wasn't.
Yeah.
There wasn't an internet, really that you could search for anything.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
everything that I teach, you know, I learned by reconnecting to soul,
Mm.
just
Mm.
reconnecting. And of course, now we teach it, it's easy to do. It's not rocket science and it doesn't require a PhD. Like, just connect with your body, listen to yourself. And
Mm.
if there's something for you that feels right, and someone else is saying, no, 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 you need to buy this juicer. And you're like, ooh, that's so
Mm.
expensive. And then there's a hassle cleaning out the fiber and it's all that. That's not for you. Um,
Mm.
and
Mm.
and just don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to say it's not for me. Hi, Anasha. um, I love her. Yeah. It's
She is too
just
cute.
so the holistic approach is really what is my body asking for,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
what can I give it without adding a whole lot of stress in my
Mm.
life.
Mm. No, extremely, extremely important. One last question that came through, Kathy, before we end our conversation, is about collagen powder because I know it's been around. Yeah, it's been around. Everyone's trying it out. What are your thoughts around collagen powder?
I mean, I think it's best to get it through food. I
Mm. Mm.
know that, like, there was a period in time where people were taking collagen supplements for their hair and
Mm.
connective tissue, and um, yes, but it's a protein that our bodies produce. So
Mm.
I'm not sure it's something that's necessary to take as a supplement.
Okay.
Um, Again, it's there's newer research coming out. I still haven't
Mm.
read all of it, but a couple years ago, the conclusion was it's best just to get it through your food.
Mm.
Take your chicken
Mm.
bones and boil
Yeah.
them and drink that
Yeah.
broth. And but even then,
Okay.
it's your body's producing it. It's like 30% of the proteins your body produces, and so
Mm.
just eat a healthy
Mm.
diet. And really, I'm talking about using food as medicine.
Mm.
Be really
Mm.
aware. And for people who are like, that's such a pain in the butt. Honestly, it just takes a few weeks. It just
Yeah.
takes a few weeks to get that. You can
Yeah.
speak to it. It doesn't take long to
Yeah.
to get that habit going. It might feel a little painful at first, but it's really just stick with it because suddenly it's like, oh, okay, this is easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's not a
Yeah.
good answer on the collagen powder. Just just eat food.
Mm. No, I hear you
Enjoy
absolutely.
eating food.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and find what works for your own body. I think that
Mm.
is such wisdom in there. So yeah, re a last few words maybe from your side as well, because I know we are running out of time, and I know there's so many more questions that we can ask and things we can talk about. But I'm sure we'll
Absolutely.
have another session, and also put some blogs up on the website, etc. But yeah, maybe a last few words from your side before we go back to Kathy for a last few words.
I think for me, my last few words is really thanking Kathy to really come on this platform and just sharing her knowledge, because
Mm,
it is a lot of years getting the type of knowledge she is getting. And also the fact that I'm also right next to her, just saying, what it does, what she is talking about actually does work.
mm,
Because for myself, when I went for my last scan, I still went through the whole scan anxiety, because you were anxious about what results you were going to get. And
mm,
I got my results, and I showed Kathy, and I told her about the results. And I think it was such a turning point for me, because not I didn't just feel it in my body that I felt good, but I saw it
mm,
from, like, from scans, from results.
mm.
So her results are not just, like, she's not talking just, okay, just eat, or holistically. Because for me, as I say to people, like, my mental brain, in terms of going holistic healing, is what we need to look at, in terms of
Yeah,
not just um the radiation, the chemotherapy, and the operation.
yeah.
It's actually the holistic healing that we need to look at. And my roots on that come from Kathy, because I've seen it. I've taken her teaching and used it in my own life. And once
Mm,
you see it in your own life, as she said earlier, very simple, very attainable, and very sustainable, because it's things that you do on a daily basis. We're not saying go to the gym and gym 5 hours, we
yeah,
breathe without even thinking of breathing. But instead of now breathing normally, breathe through
yeah.
your nose and out through your
Mm.
Oh yeah.
nose. There's actually healing in actually breathing in and out through your nose instead of out of your mouth. So there's so
Mm,
many things that just twitch a little bit to actually, that you can use it in your life. We're not,
mm,
we're not going to take a gym membership at this amount. Just do what you normally
Right.
do, but conscious about the healing side of what you're doing. And also,
yeah.
one big thing that I learned from Kathy is allow your body to heal, like
Mm,
rest. Like, she was one time, she said to me, and I don't really want to go too much into it, but one time she said to me, she wakes up at 10, and she starts work at 10 and finishes at 3, because she needs to let her body heal. Same thing
mm,
that we need to do for ourselves. Rest,
mm,
because your body also needs healing. Another one last
yeah.
thing, I'm so sorry, I know I'm going over time. But one thing that Kathy also said to me once is that your body heals itself. When you get a scab, when you hurt yourself and you get a scab, your body heals. It heals. So if it can do that on the outside, it can definitely also do that on the inside. But you need to allow it to heal. So those are just
Mm.
my last words.
Uh, you graduate.
She learned well. And the results
Yeah.
show. I'm not going to give it away.
Yeah.
Ree can give it away in her own time, but the results show. So we are super grateful for that. And yeah, I think from our side
And
also just a huge congratulations for having that consistency, Ree. I think that is super important.
and it's really important not to take away from your very unique specialness, Ree, because you are, but
Mm,
you are not unique in that, in the healing and the ability, like, you're not alone. There's so many of us doing it. So
yeah.
when I work with people and they say, how did you do it? And I tell them, and they go to their doctor, and their doctor's like, well, that's not a thing. We don't have a lot of data for that. I'm like,
Mm.
oh, for crying out loud. You're just you're choosing not to read that research.
Mm,
So we are
mm,
out there, people. And if you think, we're not, we are. So
yeah,
please trust
100%.
yourself.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm. No, absolutely. Kathy, I think we cannot thank you enough. Really, we don't have enough words to just gratefulness pouring out for really what you are doing for people, what you just your own experience and your journey that you are sharing with people, and everything you've learned along the way, I think makes a huge impact. So just from our side, as she speaks, is a really huge thank you for coming on again tonight and being part of our journey. We really love
Absolutely.
that and love you for that. So and Ree, thank you for also sharing a little bit from your side. It's always much appreciated, and obviously you also make a difference in your space and with She Speaks. So I'm just happy to be a part of that. But just in closing, also just in closing for tonight, also just a reminder to everyone out there that is in and around Johannesburg. We do have our Sip and Paint Cancer Nutrition event on Saturday, happening this Saturday, the 28th of October. Please have a look on all our social media platforms for all the necessary information. We've got a special running still for another about 45 minutes, so please have a look out for that special as well if you buy your tickets today.
I wish I
And
was there.
we cannot wait to see all of you there and really just enjoy an event full of information, full of knowledge and wisdom, but also having loads of fun with painting, and really just enjoying each other's company. So please join us. I'm sure we're going to have a great time. And just once again, Kathy, thank you. Reed, thank you. And to all of you out there,
Thank
thank you so
you.
much for joining tonight. We will see you again very, very soon. And please share any questions, any comments on all our platforms. We love to hear from you. So have a good night or a good day and a blessed day further. Cheers, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.